High in the Karakoram, where the Himalayas, the Karakoram, and the Hindu Kush collide, a narrow valley holds one of Pakistan's most extraordinary places. Hunza is not a myth from an old travel poster. It is a living landscape, stone villages stacked against impossible cliffs, orchards heavy with apricots, and a culture that has endured centuries at the edge of the sky. This is not a fantasy destination. It is real, reachable, and quietly transforming. In the next 10 minutes, we will show you exactly how to get there and what you will eat, hear, and feel when you finally arrive. Hunza lies in Gilgit-Baltistan, the northernmost territory of Pakistan, roughly 600 kilometers north of Islamabad. The valley follows the Hunza River as it cuts between razor-sharp peaks, with Karimabad serving as its cultural heart and Altit and Ganesh as ancient stone settlements nearby. Elevations range from around 2,000 meters in the lower valley to well over 3,000 on the surrounding passes. Because of this altitude, seasons arrive late, winters are long, and summers burst with color in a compressed window that shapes everything, from harvest schedules to the rhythm of daily life. Nearly every journey to Hunza begins in Islamabad, Pakistan's modern capital. From here, travelers have two main options. The overland route follows the legendary Karakoram Highway north through Rawalpindi, Abbottabad, and Mansehra before climbing into the mountains toward Gilgit. The faster alternative is a domestic flight from Islamabad to Gilgit, weather permitting, a white-knuckle approach between peaks that locals know can cancel without warning. Whichever path you choose, plan at least 2 full days for the road trip or build flexibility around flight schedules. Hunza rewards patience from the very first mile. The Karakoram Highway is more than a road. It is an engineering statement carved into one of the most hostile landscapes on Earth. Completed in stages across decades, this highway links Pakistan with China through the Punjab Pass and cuts directly through Hunza territory. The drive from Islamabad to Gilgit takes roughly 18 to 20 hours, often split overnight in Chilas or Gilgit. Landslides, rockfall, and seasonal closures are part of the reality, not exceptions. Yet every hour reveals something staggering. The Nanga Parbat Massif, the confluence of the Indus, and villages that seem to grow from the rock itself. From Gilgit, Hunza is roughly 100 kilometers further north, about 2 to 3 hours by road depending on conditions. Shared vans, private jeeps, and local buses run regularly along this stretch, passing through the Rakaposhi viewpoint, where travelers often stop for their first full glimpse of a 7,000-meter peak. The road climbs steadily, the air thins, and the landscape shifts from dusty river valleys to green terraces and fruit trees. Karimabad appears on a ridge above the Hunza River like a fortress from another century, its stone houses and narrow lanes waiting at the end of one of the world's great overland journeys. For international visitors, reaching Hunza requires a valid visa for Pakistan and, for some nationalities, a no-objection certificate for Gilgit-Baltistan, regulations that shift, so check before you depart. Domestic travelers need standard identification. There is no international border crossing on the main tourist route to Karimabad, though the Punjab Pass to China lies further north for those with separate permits. Altitude is the invisible checkpoint everyone must respect. At over 2,000 meters, headaches and fatigue can hit on arrival. Acclimatize slowly, drink water, and give your body a day before attempting steep walks. Then you arrive, and Hunza announces itself not with neon signs, but with silence, wind, and the smell of wood smoke. The people here are primarily Burusho, speakers of Burushaski, a language isolate with no known relatives anywhere on Earth. For centuries they lived under local rulers, the Mirs of Hunza, in a feudal system that ended only in the 1970s. Isolation shaped everything: self-reliance, communal labor, and a diet built from what the valley could grow. Today, tourism has arrived, but the old rhythms persist: harvest festivals, stone architecture, and a hospitality so generous it can overwhelm first-time visitors. Two forts anchor Hunza's cultural identity. Baltit Fort, perched above Karimabad, dates back more than 700 years and was the seat of the Mir dynasty until the 1940s. Restored with international support, Its timber balconies and stone walls now house a museum that tells the valley's political history. Lower down, Altat Fort is even older. Its foundations claim to reach back 1100 years. Walking through these structures, you understand how Hunza's people read the landscape. High ground meant survival, stone meant permanence, and every window frame was oriented toward threats and trade routes. If Hunza has a crown, it is the apricot. The valley produces dozens of varieties, and almost nothing goes to waste. Fresh fruit is eaten by the handful in summer. Surplus is dried on rooftops until the flesh turns sweet and chewy, then stored through the long winter. Kernels are cracked for oil. Orchards cascade down terraces in every village, and the blossom season in spring paints the hills white and pink. Locals will tell you, with quiet pride, that their longevity comes from clean water, hard work, and a lifetime of eating from these trees. Hunza cuisine is hearty, seasonal, and built for cold nights at altitude. Chapshuro, often called the valley's own pie, is perhaps its most famous dish, a thick wheat dough stuffed with minced meat, onions, and local spices, then baked until the crust turns golden and crisp. Diram fiti, a sweet paste of sprouted wheat flour mixed with apricot oil and almond, fuels workers before dawn. Flatbreads baked on steel plates, goat cheese aged in skin bags, and soups made from dried vegetables appear on nearly every table. Nothing is rushed. Food here is fuel, ritual, and welcome combined. Before a meal, there is tea, and in Hunza, tea is a ceremony. Salted butter tea, brewed strong and mixed with yak or goat butter, arrives in shallow bowls the moment you sit down. It is rich, unfamiliar to most Western palates, and deeply comforting once the altitude chill settles in. Refusing it is almost unthinkable. Accepting it opens every door. Guest rooms in family homes still outnumber hotels in many villages, and hosts measure their honor by how well they feed you. A second helping is not pressure, it is love translated into lamb, bread, and apricot jam. Culture in Hunza is not locked behind museum glass. It lives in the drumbeats of the Jinani Festival, which marks the barley harvest in late summer, and in the Shandor Polo Festival on high passes where teams from Hunza and neighboring valleys compete on the world's highest polo ground. Traditional music uses the duff, a frame drum, and call-and-response singing in brushaski that echoes off canyon walls. Women wear embroidered caps called koi. Men wrap woolen cloaks against the wind. These are not performances staged for cameras. They are the valley exhaling after months of hard labor. Walk away from the main road and Hunza becomes quiet again. Women carry grass in woven baskets on steep paths between terraces. Children walk kilometers to school along cliffside trails that would terrify urban parents. Irrigation channels called culls, some centuries old, divert glacial meltwater to every field with a precision that modern engineers admire. In winter, families gather indoors to spin wool, repair tools, and tell stories. The conflict here is not dramatic. It is the daily negotiation between tradition and the modern world. Satellite dishes on ancient roofs, smartphones beside wood-burning stoves. In the last 2 decades, Hunza has become one of Pakistan's most visited destinations. New hotels line the Karimabad Ridge. Instagram has turned Eagle's Nest viewpoint into a sunset pilgrimage. Plastic waste and water shortages follow crowds the infrastructure was never built to handle. Yet community-led initiatives are pushing back. Organic farming cooperatives, homestay networks, and local guides who insist tourism must benefit villagers, not bypass them. The valley stands at a crossroads familiar to beautiful places everywhere. How to share wonder without selling the soul that created it. Getting to Hunza demands time, flexibility, and respect for mountains that do not negotiate. But those who make the journey carry something home that no airport souvenir can match. It is the taste of a sun-warmed apricot eaten straight from the branch. It is butter tea shared with strangers who become family in an evening. It is the humbling sight of Rakaposhi glowing pink at dawn while a village below stirs to bread and prayer. Hunza does not ask to be conquered. It asks to be understood, one terrace, one meal, one winding mile of the Karakoram Highway at a time.